In today's episode, accuse my salesperson of forgery? Awesome, your service is cancelled. Can I have ludicrous amounts of vinegar, please? Serve the cake. So let's get started. Accuse my salesperson of forgery? Awesome, your service is cancelled. I used to be a sales manager for a B2B services company. We provided a service to business. Unlike a lot of companies, we would not auto-renew a client's service unless they signed a new contract. The contracts were generally for 1 to 3 years. All our contracts were signed on an iPad that recorded the GPS coordinates of where the document was signed, and we emailed the client a copy of the agreement instantly, and in the email we basically said, if you disagree with this contract or would like to make changes, contact us within 5 business days. If you don't, we will move forward and bill accordingly. In addition, one of the cancellation terms in the contract was dishonesty. If the client could prove we were dishonest, they had a right to cancel without penalty. If the client acted dishonestly, we had the right to cancel their contract with us. There was a client that was actually quite a small account, but always proved to cause a lot of headache for my reps. I remember calling the rep and going over the common issues I've seen with this client, and I stressed, get the signature on the iPad in his office. I also stressed that if the client wanted to cancel, let him cancel, because he's been proven to be very difficult to work with. Salesman went to the sales call, signature was signed, client service was executed according to the terms of the contract. 4 months later, I get an email from a customer service rep. The client is claiming that my salesman forged the client's signature. I did my due diligence before calling the client. I checked where the newest contract was signed. It was signed in the client's place of business via the iPad. I compared the signature on the newest contract to the many signatures on the numerous contracts we had on file with the same signer from the client. They were all very close. I also looked at the email that we went to the client right after the contract was signed. The client opened the link to see his contract 65 minutes after the contract was signed and did nothing. Also, the link was open for several minutes. I looked up the client's current billing status. He was 45 days behind. He knew we didn't start charging late fees until 60 days behind, and at 120 days we would begin litigation/collection account status. I called up the client, and this is how the call went. Me. Hello, this is Luther from ABC. I was told you are accusing my sales rep of forging your signature on the renewal. Client. Yes, I never agreed to pay that much. I never would have. I told him to give me a discount, and I wanted to see it in writing before I signed. Me. And did he give you a discount and show it to you in writing? Client. No, he said he had to go talk to his boss, and I never heard back from him. Me. Okay, and then what happened? Client. Well, y'all kept up the service, and I noticed on my billing it hadn't gone down, but up in cost, and I looked back in my emails and saw the sales rep forged my signature, and that's illegal. Me. Yes, you are right. If the salesperson did forge your signature, that is illegal. Client. Well, good to see that we agree on that. Me. After the contract was signed, regardless if the signature was forged or not, you would have gotten an email with a link to the contract asking you to verify that everything is correct, and if it's not, to let us know within 5 business days. Did you get the email? If you did get the email, did you review the contract? Client. Well, yes, but I was pretty busy and didn't open the email until recently. Me. I totally get it. We are busy nowadays, so assuming he did forge the signature, what would you consider an acceptable resolution to this? Would you want to end service with no penalty? Would you like a discount? Client. I would want a discount. Me. And what would you consider an acceptable discount? Client. 3 months of free service. Me. Got it. Well, Mr. Client, I got several problems with your claim that my sales rep forged your signature, and before I fire this salesperson for forgery and offer you a discount, I'd like to see if we can address those problems. Client. Sounds fair. Me. The signature was captured on our iPads, which records the GPS coordinates of where the signature happened. Per the GPS coordinates, it happened inside your place of business. Client, well, he knows that, right? Me, yes, he did. Client, that just means he forged it inside my building. Me, okay, well, the next issue is that the signature on the renewal contract looks exactly like the previous contracts. Client, he just copied my signature, I know I didn't sign that. Me, could it be possible someone else in your company signed it? Client, no, everyone here knows I'm the only one that gets to sign those contracts. Me, I understand, the next issue I have with your claim is that the link to the contract that was emailed to you was opened 65 minutes after the contract was signed. Client, no, it wasn't. Me, yes sir, it was. The reason why we have you click a link to view the signed contract is so we know if you open the link or not only that it appears like the link was open for several minutes. Which to me would indicate the person who opened that link reviewed the contract. Also, the fact that no one ever responded to the email would indicate to me the person who reviewed the contract was fine. Client, are you accusing me of lying? Me, yes, and because of that I will be canceling your service with us effective immediately. How would you like to pay your current balance? Client, you're canceling my service and want me to pay? Me, yes, I want you to pay for the services we provided. Client, I'm not going pay. Me, if you're not going pay for the services we provided, I'm going refer you to our collections department, and they will add late fees, and if you don't pay them they will refer you to our law firm for litigation. Client, we have a contract, you can't just cancel my service. Me, actually I can. Since I have good reason to believe you're lying about the accusation that my salesperson forged your signature, everything I have says you signed it. Our contract states that we cancel your contract for being dishonest, and that's what we are going to do. Client, fuck you, hangs up. I referred the client to collections, he eventually paid them without us having to sue him. Honestly, we probably would have just sold his debt to a collection agency due to the dollar amount not being high enough to be worth it to sue. Can I have ludicrous amounts of vinegar, please? My colleague and I used to survive our boring desk job by occasionally treating ourselves to the local chippy. Often on a Thursday or Friday when we needed a pick-me-up. This was in the north of England, so I'm talking fish, chips, pies, sausage, gravy, etc. Decor from the 80s. The owners, simple, straightforward, humorless working folk. Usually I get fish and chips with a bit of salt and ketchup. I never liked vinegar on chips as I find it too acidy and makes them go all soggy. My mate, however, loves vinegar on his sausage and chips, and just as we're walking to the chip shop he tells me how they never put enough vinegar on them. I say to just ask for more then. He says, fine. I will. We go in and order, and the girl behind the counter plates them up in those little polystyrene trays. She asks if we want salt and vinegar. My mate, yes, can I have ludicrous amounts of vinegar please? Cue malicious compliance. The girl unquestioningly picks up the vinegar bottle and starts shaking it over his chips, looking him straight in the eye the whole time. To this day I don't know if she was flexing on him in a call my bluff kind of way, or just humorlessly and obediently carrying out his request. She adds 10 seconds worth of vinegar and is still staring at him for confirmation that it's enough. My mate is either too proud or too awkward to tell her to stop, so he just stands there looking on as his meal is slowly ruined. Meanwhile, the little tray is slowly filling up with vinegar. Finally, after 15 to 20 seconds of vinegarization, she stops and puts the bottle down. My mate says thanks quietly and watches as his tray of food, now close to overflowing with vinegar, is wrapped up and passed to him. At this point I'm trying not to piss my pants. We go back to the office and, inevitably, the vinegar has soaked through all the paper wrapping the meal, and my mate spends most of his lunch break trying to peel soggy strips of paper from his food. Me, they give you enough vinegar this time? Him, just about. Serve the cake. This happened 30 years ago. It was the second job I ever had in my life, taken because the owner's son at my first job fell in love with me and became abusive and enraged that I was dating someone, and I ended up quitting after locking myself in a bathroom for an hour for my own safety. But that is another story. This was a tea room. And they catered events. My first shift we were catering a wedding. I had been told to wear my best wedding clothes. I wore a beautiful white blouse and a lovely skirt. I arrived at the venue, served the wedding, and then, I got to wash every pot and pan in the kitchen at the venue. My wedding clothes were ruined, and in addition, I got yelled at for leaving contamination on a pot that seriously doubt had been scrubbed clean in my lifetime. I was pretty mad, but I needed the job, and I thought it would surely get better. I was wrong. My next shift, I was serving in the tea room. I was pulled aside and told by the owner that I was to forfeit all of my tips and work only for my base pay. Because I was young and I didn't need the money, and her son was in jail and he needed it more than I did. I reasoned that she had no way of tracking cash tips, so I resolved the issue by making sure I got generous tips and pocketing half. Not illegal, and she had no way of knowing, and I could keep the job. The next time I was called and I was told to head down to basement. This was apparently a religious place, I had no idea, and everyone was in the basement singing hymns while chopping watermelon and putting it in a blender. This was for watermelon punch, to be served the following day at a catered event. The blender being used was old and standing in an inch of water. It kept mildly electrocuting those of us lucky enough to be tasked with using it. I was pretty rapidly reaching the end of my patience. My next shift I was working their catering event. This one actually was fine. Maybe the only shift where there was nothing completely insane going on. My next shift was my last. The tea room had a display case filled with beautiful cakes and pies. Customers could select what they wanted. A huge party of 30 people came in. It was explained that since we did not split tips, I was responsible for serving this party all on my own. I think the party was given to me because the owner felt it would be a big tip, and knew I would be forced to give it to her after. I slaved running back and forth, taking orders, serving drinks, rushing out food. I managed it all, and in the end I got a huge tip. I kept half and gave her half, and I said nothing. As they were leaving, I was seated again. This time a party of 2. I was exhausted and this meant I would be working past my scheduled shift. I sucked it up and served them. At the end, they walked over to the display case and chose dessert. I pulled the desserts out, and one was moldy. I showed the owner, and her response? Serve the cake. I suppose I could have argued, and I truly felt bad for the customer, but this was all I could take. I was exhausted and I was done. I served the cake. It was not long before the mold was noticed. When I walked out that final time, the owner was yelling at the customer who was screeching back. Predictably, she tried to blame me. I just cursed her out, told the customer the truth, and left. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.